Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to our Game of Thrones mod playthrough for Crusader Kings 3, following Robert Baratheon and as you will have remembered from that last episode, some other characters as well, as we might be doing a little bit of POV shifting as the series goes along, but we will be playing as Robert for the most part, and we are playing as Robert as we pick things back up once again. And those of you may recognize this here as the Isle of Estermont, and you might be wondering why Robert is coming to Estermont, which is in the Stormlands at a time like this. And that is a good question, and we're going to answer that in just a moment. So as we pop back out here, we can see that we are on our way from Braavos back to the Stormlands, a place where, well, if we are caught by the wrong people, we might suffer a rather unfortunate fate. However, the Stormlands is undoubtedly still a place where Robert is not only respected, but also seen as the rightful lord, especially considering the Stormlands is currently being ruled over by the Tyrells, and not only the Tyrells, but Lord Paramount Garth the Gross Tyrell. And the Storm Lords are not going to be happy with this situation. And so Robert here, in the wake of Rhaegar's victory over Aerys, well, I hesitate to call it a victory. In the wake of Aerys' death and Rhaegar's victory by default, we can probably imagine that things in the kingdom are a little bit tumultuous still, and so that is why Robert is heading back here, because he thinks that perhaps this is an opportunity to get the Storm Lords and the Lords of the March to rise up for him once again. And I think that is actually probably a pretty plausible thing to imagine. Now, as we kind of get into this situation, I'll just kind of briefly catch you up on some things. I mean, we can see here that Robert is looking a little bit ruddy in the cheeks, and that's because, yeah, he is a drunkard now. Apparently, he's also gallows bait as well, so that's probably not, going over too well with some of the people in his camp, like Ned and, some of the more honorable ones. But it's tough to say what they had to do back there and in Braavos and stuff during this time. But apparently it didn't go over well, so I imagine there might be a little bit of a rift between Ned and Robert, but I don't know if it's quite enough of one for Ned to just abandon Robert just yet. I think that might be, there might be tension between them, but I mean, you guys know how loyal Ned was to Robert. I think it would take a little bit more than this situation they currently find themselves in to break these two friends apart. But regardless, yeah, we're heading down here. You will remember that that Robert did get married while we weren't controlling him to Mistress Rhaena the Fair, which is, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. In order to justify it, this kind of random character who actually is quite good, the way I can see it, and you might see I've adjusted her appearance here just a little bit. She does look just a little bit like a figure that we might know from the Stark lineage, and that would be Lyanna Stark. Doesn't really look that much the same, but would I imagine a little bit of a drunken Robert. Maybe he had a fight with Ned over the things that they had to do there. He meets this woman, she like beats him in a fight or something like that. She kind of, and like Robert's like impressed, he gets infatuated, and then he ends up maybe drunkenly marrying her. I don't know, something like that is certainly seems not entirely out of the realm of plausibility, especially if he thinks that she looks just a little bit like Lyanna. And so that's kind of my reasoning there. I think it's kind of interesting, and she is pregnant, I will point out. So yeah, That doesn't mean that Robert might not divorce her at some point, or who knows when he comes to his senses. But yeah, that happened there. We do have more characters in our court here. We've got Goodmund Forrester here, who has come and joined us. He is obviously from the north. He's come to serve his true liege lord, Ned, and so he's in our camp as well. Who else do we have here? Yeah, we've still got the Willem here. We've got Master Julian, a Maester. We've got, let's see, Stannis, of course. Caitlin, the goldfish, they call her now. Edmure, look at Edmure. Edmure got the authoritative trait. This is going to be a little bit of a different Edmure than the one we know from the books, that's for sure. Edmure from the books is not authoritative. Let's see. We've got, there's a couple other characters. We've seen some of these ones. Oh yeah, Sir Ossifer Horp. A little bit of an evil blackguard here, a Marcher Knight. Yeah, not a good guy. He is certainly not a good guy, but he is serving us, and he is a capable warrior and a capable schemer here, a hunter, a torturer. This is the type of man who, when you get into a fight with him, he knows exactly where to put a blade to take you down. Let's see. Anybody else here of great interest to us? Sir Ossifer Thorpe. We've got Sir Wendell Weaver here. Another Stormlander lord here. Loyal, but certainly a devious and a godless blackguard, as it is well known, apparently. And then finally, we've got Sir Torrin Murner here. From White Harbor. Some say he's distantly related to the Manderleys. He takes a merman as his sigil on a 7-pointed star. But that's regardless, he's a capable knight and he is serving us well. So these are some people who Robert is rallying to his cause here. Now, I know you guys want to know what is going on with Rhaegar. Well, we will get into that. I will start time going just so we can make our way down over to this this grand wedding that we're going here. The grand wedding of Lord Edwin Estermont. And it's actually interesting, right, that we're going to this grand wedding because this is the grand wedding of our grandfather. Like, this is our mother, Cassana Estermont. Well, his this is the place that we're gonna go. Like, this guy has plenty of reason to want to support us, and so I think that is why that we find ourselves going to Estermont to try to potentially pull off this plan here, or see if we can rally some support from these Stormlords. One interesting thing though is Garth the Gross has arrived here as well. So Robert's going to need to be, a little bit, probably meeting some of these people in secret rather than, being very open about it. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, I know you guys want to know what's going on with Rhaegar and the Iron Throne. And we will get into that. And before we do get into that, I just want to say, if you are somebody who, has a great love and appreciation for Rhaegar from the books, and I think we all did to some extent, except for the Targaryen haters out there. But, the idea that Rhaegar was meant to be this glorious king and that that opportunity was taken away from him by his death at Robert's hands. He could have gone and changed everything, reversed everything that Aerys had been doing and changed it all. I don't think that's the Rhaegar that we find ourselves in this timeline. And I'm going to explain why I believe that is. So as we take a look here, we can see King Rhaegar Targaryen of the Iron Throne. And the first thing that you're going to immediately notice, well, there's probably two things, is one, he has named his son Prince Aemon, or Jon Snow, Aegon, as we sometimes call him, as his heir, claiming that this is his legitimate son by Lyanna Stark. That is obviously a little bit in doubt and probably considered somewhat, well, I mean, not sacrilegious, I guess you could say, because he was technically married to Elia at the time. And so the legitimacy of Aemon is certainly put into doubt. And then the second thing that you're going to notice, indeed, is that Queen Elia is, in fact, dead. And that is simply because even after Aerys was killed by the plot that her brothers, Doran and Oberyn, and the others enacted, when she discovered that her children were dead, she might not have even known. She was probably kept in house arrest, kept in her room, didn't know the fate of her children. Once she discovered this, and possibly even, maybe after Rhaegar brought this child, Aemon, back to back to King's Landing, I think that Elia just couldn't, I mean, you guys understand, right? Like, this is a delicate woman who lost both of her children, who, is essentially being shamed by her husband, and who was in this horrific situation for months. She was imprisoned in the siege of King's Landing for months. And so obviously she did not survive the events of that, presumably taking her own life, one would imagine. And so that is probably the second thing that you'll notice here in the wake of this. Now, I just want to take a moment and get into the head of this timeline's Rhaegar, because this is actually very important. And this is kind of where I think I might get some disagreement from you guys in the comments, because I know a lot of people really like Rhaegar, and I do too. But I think in this timeline, we are seeing a darker version of Rhaegar. How could we not? Not only was he horrifically maimed, and I just want to take a moment. I'm going to switch over briefly to Rhaegar, because I want you guys to see this. I want you to see this. Rhaegar was considered to be, one of the most handsome, a beautiful man, and that was something that, obviously was going to affect you in terms of your own self-image. But let's take a look here at Rhaegar. We can remove the mask for a moment here. Let's just look at what the beautiful Rhaegar is like now. So we can see here, this is the Rhaegar that he sees himself as, but this is the Rhaegar that looks at him now in the mirror. And this, to me, I'm not saying that Rhaegar is like insane or anything at this point, or that he's gonna go insane. I don't think that's I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Maybe not in a Mad King way, but in a different way. But imagine seeing this, when you wake up every day, the change that this disfigurement would have on him, I think is something that would affect anybody, right? Like, I don't think that we can overlook just the fact that, like, his disfigurement would have an effect on the man. And the way he looks at himself. So yeah, I think that that's something that we just need to consider when we're thinking about this. We'll switch back to Robert really quick, but I will just talk about Rhaegar for a little while longer. So Rhaegar disfigured in that battle. He was in a coma for like several months at the end of the war, and then when he wakes up, not only does he wake up to the fact that the love of his life, or what we presume is the love of his life, Lyanna Stark, certainly a woman that he had great love for, or some feelings for, she has died, and his father, Aerys, is going on a rampage, like executing lords left and right, The realm is in shambles after the war. Rhaegar is forced to like try to, temper his father. It does not work. They end up starting a war. Rhaegar's children are both killed. Rhaegar himself is ultimately responsible for the death of his own father. And then his wife ends her own life after that, presumably blaming Rhaegar for all of this. Like, imagine the weight of all of that on this one young man. And then when you consider all of these horrific things that have happened to Rhaegar, all of these horrifically tragic things, and all of the guilt and the shame and all of that, now combine this with the fact that one of the things we know about Rhaegar is his obsession with prophecy. There was a time where Rhaegar literally thought that he was the prince that was promised. I don't think we can really overlook this fact that Rhaegar developed such a strong feeling about the prophecy. Like, he literally believes that this prophecy, the prophecy of the prince that was promised, is something that is actively, coming true now. Like the end of, the end of the world, the White Walkers, like, all of this stuff that ties into the prophecy of Azor Ahai, the last hero, all of these things. He believes that this is coming true. He believes that this is he has a massive role to play in this, if not being the prince that was promised himself, but his child, Prince Aemon, potentially here, is the prince that was promised. And you have to consider that, if he was already becoming obsessed with that before, surely in the wake of all of these events, that would be magnified, amplified to an even greater degree. So, although I think that there is the possibility of a timeline where Rhaegar does go and, become the Targaryen prince or the Targaryen king that we all wish that he could have become, I don't think that it's this timeline's Rhaegar. I think that this timeline's Rhaegar is a man who is haunted and a man who will have great struggles with his own part in the prophecy and in the world and all of this. I think that this is a dark Rhaegar, and I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that we could see him, kind of going not mad like the Mad King, but his obsession with all of these things, his obsession with the prophecy and fulfilling it because he thinks that he's, that it's the only way to save the world. I think that could drive him mad in a different way, not in this like angry, vengeful way, but in a sad, melancholy, tragically obsessed way. And so that's kind of my interpretation. Like I said, some of you guys might not be, big fans of that because you like Rhaegar, but to me, that makes the most sense for this scenario. So I do think that we're going to be seeing a darker Rhaegar here. Now, we know that Prince Aemon has been legitimized, has been, acknowledged to the world. People are probably not going to be too happy about that. There's probably rumors that, and it's possibly even true, that Aerys would have disinherited Rhaegar before the end of his life, when that war was going, and maybe named Viserys as his heir. So there's probably some people who, might be interested in backing Viserys potentially if they thought they could make a power play in that way. But Rhaegar is presumably not necessarily, he's stable on the throne, but there might be a little bit of shakiness to that just because it's so soon after what happened. So the situation is not, just like, oh, Aerys is dead, everything's fine now. No, everything is absolutely not fine, and there's a couple extra reasons for it. So one, Elia is dead. Imagine being Doran Martell down here in Dorne. You kill Ares and, helping Rhaegar, only to discover that not only did Rhaegar essentially shame your wife, dishonor, or your sister, shame your sister, dishonor your sister, and then find out that not only are your niece and nephew dead, but she ends up taking her own life because of this. And then, the child of that shameful relationship that Rhaegar had, is named the heir. Imagine being Doran and all of this comes to pass after what you did, after you saved, Rhaegar. You basically did what you had to do and ended the threat that Ares posed, and now all of this. Well, I don't think it's any surprise that we would see Doran consider Rhaegar a rival, an enemy in this moment. His sister was shamed, his sister was dishonored, and she died because of that. Who else could he blame? Of course he would blame Rhaegar. So Doran and also Oberyn are both rivals now of Rhaegar here, which I think is, to me, I would say is completely understandable, considering what happened with Elia here. So yeah, that's the situation there. So that's kind of, that's going to be causing some problem. Dorne was, one of the most stable allies of the Targaryens for the last little while, but now they are, essentially enemies. And so that is, that's going to be fascinating there. But Rhaegar has more than enemies than that. And you might recall that we had suggested that Rhaegar had made a deal with one Tywin Lannister that he would release Jaime Lannister from his oath of the Kingsguard if Tywin were to help Rhaegar in the war, which Tywin did. However, as you will see, if we actually go and take a look here, you can take a look at Tywin. You'll see that Sir Jaime Lannister remains in the Kingsguard, and that we had a little bit of a debate about this in the Discord, which if you haven't joined yet, there's a link in the description. We had a debate about this, and the way I see this playing out, imagine, Jaime here, who is somebody who respects Rhaegar, almost like he idolizes him. He almost like hero worships him. We know that from some quotes and stuff in the book. And so imagine Sir Jaime, being told by Rhaegar that, he has to be released from his oath because of the deal made with his father. Now, there's a couple factors to keep in mind with this. One, Kingsguard oath is for life, and before this point, we don't have any concrete evidence of any Kingsguard being released from that oath early. We know that Barristan Selmy was released from his oath, but that doesn't happen in this timeline. That would happen after this point. So nobody we know has been released from their oath in this way, at least as far as I'm aware. But more than that, we know that Jaime, when he was younger, was like extreme, like he was very caught up in the oath that he took, in the honor and all of this. And so what I imagine happening is Jaime is informed of this. And one thing to keep in mind, Cersei is dead in this timeline. She died of a pox. Actually, not even that long ago, just a few months ago, just before the end of the war. She did even have a bastard child. This is obviously the child of her and Jaime here. So imagine Jaime here. He lost his love, and he now finds himself being, ejected from his oath as the Kingsguard. How I see this playing out, and keep in mind too that they are also friends here. Rhaegar is, considers Jaime to be a friend. And so imagine Jaime hearing this and then begging Rhaegar, getting down on his knees, proclaiming, telling him like, this is an oath for life. I can't simply, give up this oath and, and lose this last bit of honor that that I have left, because he was involved in the plot against Aerys, keep in mind as well. And if Rhaegar were to look this young man, his friend, in the eyes as he begs to remain on the Kingsguard, and keep in mind this is a man who doesn't always make the best political decisions. He's a man who named Lyanna Stark the Queen of Love and Beauty instead of his own wife, which sparked a war. We know that Rhaegar will choose his feelings over the practical, smart thing to do. And so, if Jaime comes to him and begs him to remain on as the Kingsguard, do we really think that Rhaegar in this timeline is just so practical and so thoughtful that he's going to make the correct political decision? No, I don't think so. I think that this Rhaegar would, uphold the oath of Jaime, and he might try to think of, he might try to find some other way to placate Tywin, which obviously wouldn't work. And that's why Tywin is now a rival of of Rhaegar as well, because Rhaegar broke his word there, and that's what it is. Although Rhaegar did try, I imagine he's going to try to do something to, make it up to Tywin, like marry Viserys to a Lannister girl or something. But that's not going to be enough for Tywin. I am quite certain that Tywin here is going to, he's done with the Targaryens at this point. And so, yeah, that's the way I see that kind of playing out anyway. So just a couple other small notes. You will see that Sir Jon Connington now wears the white. I thought that this was pretty cool and totally understandable that Jon Connington would accept the position in the Kingsguard for Rhaegar here. He's not interested in wedding anybody anyways. So, however, the Conningtons have been returned their ancestral lands here in Nestridge and in Griffin's Roost. So that is that there. And then I think that's mainly everything that we need to know, other than that Jon or Aemon here has been betrothed to Daenerys as well. So yeah, that's the entire situation there. I know. It's a lot of talking, but that was actually 20 plus minutes of talking. It is what it is, you guys. There's a lot of talking in these series. I can't help it. I got a lot of stuff to explain and talk about here. So, but yeah, we are going to. Looks like we're going to be at the wedding. Travails of a cook. I don't think we're being unreasonable. Probably find something. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that. We'll just go along with it here. Are we at the wedding? I'm not actually entirely sure. Who's our guest list here? So Lord Paramount Garth the Gross is here. Walder, the late Lord Frey, has arrived as well. Okay, there's some Stormlands lords here. Some pretty good ones here. Do we want to try diplomacy on anybody? May not arrive in time. Wonder why. Where are we actually? Oh yeah, there we go. Go home. Oh, I see. I kind of... Can we... I'm going to see if I can... I think I did something that kind of messed that up, so I'm just going to quickly see if we can invite Robert here directly. Let's go see. He's our grandson, so let's go and invite to activity. There we go. So let's switch back to Robert here. Yeah, there we go. Invited to the wedding. Perfect. There we go. Fix that. Let us pick an intent here. So not recreation. We need to do some diplomacy while we're here. We need to get some people on our side. Our grandfather, obviously, but who's going to be like the most powerful lords? Who do we really need to get on our side? Like some of these guys obviously support us. Sir Lord Edric supports us already. Probably don't need to worry about that. Courtney Penrose. Who are the strongest? Can we actually look at it this way? Subjects, can we sort this by military strength? Yeah, okay. So Red Watch, getting Red Watch on our side would be good. Yeah, okay. Let's try to get Lord Julian Swan here on our side. So let's go, and if he's here even, diplomacy. Let's see. Is Lord Swan? He is here. Okay, let's confirm that one. We're gonna try to get in a some sort of alliance or something with him there. What are we doing here? Burgle the treasury of. Nah, I don't think we're gonna do that. That's we've and that's way back over in Bravos. We're away from Bravos now. We've got other plans to do. We're not a burglar. That seems like a little much even for a drunken Robert, honestly. Burglaring a train. Well, you know what? Maybe not. I don't want to underestimate the depravity of Robert Baratheon, but I look around myself in excitement. Oh, this is that's funny. This is a Frey bastard house here. Daughter of a Frey bastard house, Waldo Rivers. Interesting. That my grandfather's getting married to. 75 years old and his wife. Ew. Nah, nah, man. Yikes. Well, we need the support though. So. But yeah, okay. Well, we are in line to inherit titles. Second in line for the lordship. But, oh, interesting. That is interesting. Wedding invalidated. News of Lord Edwin's sudden death strikes the wedding party. As a rumbling thunder on a sunny day, the singing turns quiet, smiling faces change to tears. The flowers on the ground lay scattered and trampled by the grieving crowd. Oh, that is... well, so our grandfather died. Our grandfather died just as this happens here. Well... Okay, so our uncle is now the one in charge of Estermont. Even he's not gonna last that much longer either. Make a request. Oh, could we get him to? Huh, we are not available. Why not? Where are we? Yeah, I wonder what's making us not available. Start moving your... I'm just gonna briefly move my camp over to here. And then I'll move it back just to see if there was something, that kind of weirdly bugged out while we were doing that. So let's move back. Friends in low places. Father, father, cries my daughter as she runs up to me. I want you to meet somebody. The girl turns to present another child, flinging her arms wide around. This is Merrick, my new playmate someday. He's going to help me run this camp. Okay, so her and Merrick Seaworth are... seem to be friends. All right, that's fine. They can be friends. You know what? I kind of like the idea that maybe they'll maybe they'll end up together. Hard to say. Can we request an invitation to discuss the... All right, so apparently we can't do that. Well, there's lots of different little jobs here, but is there some way that we can plot against foment revolt? We don't have any money for this though. Peasant outrage. Interesting. I mean, that is technically something that we could do, though. I wonder, could our uncle... Oh, actually, he would... Ooh, he could give us some legitimate support. What's preventing it? Oh, we need a little bit more prestige? Okay, how do we get some prestige? Need a little bit of prestige. Could we go and do a job that would give us some prestige? Do a passage of arms? Hmm. Maybe we do a hunt? Maybe we take out Lord Eldon for a hunt? That could get us a little bit of prestige. And maybe we can... Oh yeah, let's do this. Okay, let's invite... Manage guests. Is extended family? Well, could we get somebody like Lord Eldon? I don't think that he can join us. That's fine though. Let's just kind of, you know, imagine that this is all playing out the way, you know, the way we might expect anyways. We'll do this hunt because we'll get that little bit of prestige. I have no rights to hunt here. I will purchase the rights. Yeah, okay. Let's making a deal with our uncle here. But yeah, I think that we're gonna spend some time here in Estermont, kind of in secret a little bit. Came to hunt stag. Oh. Wanna hunt something with Vim. Let's get out there. I mean, the stag is the symbol of House Baratheon. Maybe we go for stag then. Let's go and slay beast because I want to try to be successful if we can. Yeah, this will be interesting. Julian here, Maester Julian seems to find some flowers. We tell him, get back on your horse. We gotta be successful in this hunt. I almost never find success in hunts. Away from the cottage, away from the others, I came across a cottage housing one of the most beautiful people. Oh, Robert. Oh, Robert. She has invited me to stay and rest, and I'm surprised at how much I have in common with this simple peasant. Of course. Must you return to the hunt so soon, my lord? I've never met a man like you before. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, it's Robert. We know what Robert's gonna do. As I get ready to leave, the memories of her beautiful face, twisted in passion, linger in my mind. She strokes the fur we laid on as she watches me. This does not have to be the only night we spend together. I'm afraid it does. That's such a Robert thing. My follower Delono is first to spot the branching antlers. After it, we ride. Yeah, it's the more perilous method, but we're gonna try to pull it off. As my Night Lord Willem and I crest the hill, we hear it snapping twigs, rustling branches, and birds scream in fright herald the arrival of a furious lynx, and it's heading straight for us. Look at the size of those claws. Away with you, foul creature. Gyrid to me, we say. 45% chance the beast is slain. Willem do something? Or do we just try to do it ourselves? Oh, wow. That's actually... Wait with you, foul creature. Success chance decreases. See, I'm a little bit concerned about this 15%. Yeah, I think that we're just gonna... I think we might as well just scare the shit out of this creature. Force it away. The great beast halts before reaching us, screaming and striking wildly. It quickly thinks better of it, backing away as I slowly walk forward, waving my arms and shouting abuse. At last it turns tail and disappears out of view. Alright. Only a 50-50 chance? Yikes. After hours of riding, we finally corner the wily beast. Our chase has not been in vain. The exhausted, panicked animal has turned to bay, struggling to stand and snorting in panic. The air resounds with blowing horns, barking dogs, and the party's cries as the circle is closed around the defiant buck. I will shoot it. I will bring it down myself. Oh my gosh, why is the chances of death so high? Unleash the hounds. Oh gosh. I guess. Oh man, 15%. Let's try it. Oh boy, man, I felt worried about that. Oh man, we were actually badly injured though. I plunged my spear into it, but the beast catches me with a buck. I'm pulled away as it snorts in its death throes. Damn creature. Severely injured? You gotta be kidding me. That is rough. Severely injured. Come on, severely injured. That seems a bit much, but we were successful regardless. We get the stag antler. I'll obviously keep it as a memento and finish the hunt. There we go. That should give us a decent amount of prestige there, which we can then use to request that legitimate support, which I think will be useful here. So let's get that. And keep in mind too, like there would be some of these lords from the Stormlands. Everybody came to Estermont for my grandfather's wedding. It's not like they would just leave immediately. So I imagine that there's some sort of grand conspiracy happening here. And I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like in this situation, if Robert were, here in the Stormlands, if these lords came in, they obviously don't like Lord Paramount Garth the Gross. They don't want to be ruled over by the Tyrells. They have no love for Rhaegar, certainly, considering that his father went on a rampage and was executing, lords and stuff here in the Stormlands. The Stormlands have no love for the Tyrells. They have no love for the Targaryens, but they might, have some remaining love for Robert. And, he's got friends, here as well. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would the Stormlands rise up for Robert here? It's only been about half a year or a little bit longer since Rhaegar took the throne. His rule might still be unstable enough that the Stormlords might think that now would be the time to rise up, put Robert back on the throne, while Rhaegar's still weak, while he's still solidifying his rule. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you want me to check in on any other characters, I know some people were mentioning, for example, House Clegane here, which is ruled over by Gregor, who has plenty of kills, as you can see under his belt here already. But if there's any other characters you're interested in, let me know down below. And yeah, let me know what you guys think might happen in the wake of this plot that is being hatched here in Estermont. I don't know. I think that the Stormlords might rise up against the Tyrells here, but that's a question that will have to be answered in the next episode. Until then, Wanderers, thank you for watching.